You all join palms. And repeat after me. I take refuge in the Buddha.
I take refuge in the Buddha.
I take refuge in the Dharma.
I take refuge in the Dharma.
I take refuge in the Sangha.
I take refuge in the Sangha.
Keeping the palms joined. With the palms down. So I don't know if anybody heard me, but I actually said hello to Moto back. So I'm glad Moto can join us. Funny how conditioned we are to like just so many things, you know. And you started to say hello to me back there, and then I turned away. So hello. We just get like in these patterns and these just conditioned ways of being and behaviors and actions, and they're really hard to change. And it's like we're programmed, you know, to just hear things constantly, see things constantly, respond to certain things constantly. You know, all I heard, like, you know, I was literally in the middle of that, and I heard hello, Moto, and I said hello. Like, we're just so conditioned with so many things, and that just like runs our day. And so for me, this practice has always been so important because it's an opportunity to just try to step away from that for a minute and to just be with your mind, your body, your breath, without being conditioned or attached or triggered by anything. And that's really difficult to do because our whole day is built that way. And I'm not suggesting this is necessarily a bad thing. It's just how it works. You know, conditioning doesn't always mean bad, right? I mean, we all know that fire is hot, so we should not put our hands in it. We all know that if there's cars, you know, driving across the road, we should probably not walk across the street. So these are all conditioned thought patterns, behaviors as well. So these conditioned habits and kind of triggers, whatever you want to call them, are not all inherently bad. It's just how we operate. And so the practice is to begin to recognize, like, okay, are these triggers, are these conditioned behaviors, habitual patterns, which ones are healthy, which ones are unhealthy? And can we make wise, skillful choices when unhealthy ones tend to grab much more of our thoughts and our attention? So any sort of craving, any sort of desire, any sort of addiction, any sort of anything that we are, you know, thinking about, there's a conditioned pattern behavior there, an expectation that really is tied to all of that. So part of this for me as a practitioner with the meditation practice is the awareness of that. And can I be aware that before I do anything, literally anything at all, everything I'm doing all day long, is based on past thoughts, past conditioned behaviors. And can I see that? Because if we begin to recognize that our emotional states, happy, unhappy, pleasant, unpleasant, are nothing but our own thoughts, and we can begin to gain some sort of control over what we think and not let our mind run to all the negative, then we can spend a little more time being happy. And if we're spending a little more time being happy, then we're spending a lot less time, or I should say a little less time, being unhappy. But again, these are just our thoughts. And so, for those who are maybe new to the meditation practice, or just as a reminder, the meditation is an opportunity to watch your thoughts as they arise and just be with them. And in this moment, when we start the meditation, you're going to have a million thoughts. And the practice is to recognize all of these thoughts as they arise, but what are we going to do with them physically? Nothing. So this is helping us throughout our day, that when we have thoughts that we know would not be wise or skillful to act on, then we practice stopping. So that's the practice. Can we recognize skillful, unskillful action, skillful, unskillful thoughts, and determine which ones we act on or don't act on? Super difficult. So good to see you all. For those all joining virtually, thank you for being here. Glad you're here. Feel free to, as you all already have, wait, someone said hello and the message is being held for review, so I have to determine if we want to allow this. I think we will allow hello. Oh, they put a flower after it. That's why. This stuff is funny. So for those who are on YouTube, welcome. There's a chat box there somewhere on your screen. Feel free to say hello. We'll get to questions. You can chime in there as well. So we'll start with a meditation practice. For those who are sitting for the first time, a couple things to tell you before we begin. Nothing's going to happen to you. You're not going to float away. You're not going to have any mystical, magical experiences. The mind that races all day long is not going to shut off. Don't judge your practice. I mean, you don't ask yourself, is this working or not working? Are you doing it right or wrong? We're just going to sit and we're going to breathe. You'll hear sounds inside the room, sounds outside. This is life. Life is filled with chaos, and this practice is learning to get quiet and still within all of the chaos. Posture, you just want to be comfortable. If you're on a cushion, often helps slide into the front third. Pushing the stomach forward allows the back to straighten, shoulders are relaxed. Same thing if you're on a bench or chair, however you're seated. Just trying to relax the shoulders, sitting upright, hands are on the knees or the lap, whatever's comfortable. If you need to move during meditation, simply move. Movement doesn't make you a bad meditator, just means your leg hurts or you have an itch. So simply move, return to stillness, and everything will be okay. I will guide us as we begin, and we'll settle into a little bit of silence. Most important, do not expect anything. We're just going to sit and breathe. And starting with the eyes closed, if comfortable, or slightly open. Mouth is open or closed. We'll start with taking 3 deep breaths, slowly. And eventually, settle into a natural rhythm of the breath. Noticing the mind as it wanders, jumping from thought to thought. Start with gently guiding the attention, focus, to the stomach or chest. Breathing in, feel them rise. Breathing out, they fall. Simply continue this practice, observing sensation of breath. As the mind wanders, lost in thought, recognize it. Release that thought. Return attention, focus to the breath. Where's your mind? Lost in thought? Return to breath. Letting go of expectations. Letting go of judgment from the practice. Just sitting. Breathing. Keeping the mind alert. Aware of each sound. Each thought. Each physical sensation. Yet concerned with nothing but sitting, breathing. And with the body still, rested, the speech quiet, aware of all sounds, and the mind learning to settle. Know what it's like to just sit and breathe. Knowing with each breath, there's nothing else to do. nowhere else to go, and no one else to be. Everything beautiful, exactly as it is. Sitting, breathing. And once again, taking 3 deep breaths, slowly. As you slowly open the eyes, slowly beginning to move. Most important with the practice of meditation is to recognize how you feel now, immediately after. Compare this to how you typically feel throughout your day. Recognize the difference, if there is one. Ask yourselves how you'd prefer to feel every day for the rest of your life. And realize however you feel now, if it's quiet, calm, and still, or a busy mind, racing mind, whatever you're sitting with at this moment, has nothing to do with anything I said. It's nothing to do with how we sit and hold the hands or cross the legs. It's nothing to do with the sounds around us or anything else for that matter. It's everything to do with your own mind and your own mind's reaction to an external condition. This is what the Buddha called pratitya samuppada, means dependent origination. This is the basis of the Buddha's awakening. The word Buddha simply means awakened. He was a human being, no different than any one of us, who began to understand why he suffered, why he got angry, sad, depressed, stressed, anxious. He began to understand the causal relationship of all phenomena. And what that means very simply for all of us, regardless of where you come from or what you believe in and where you think you're going, your whole life is filled with things that happen. You react. More stuff happens, more reactions. That's it. That's what we get. This practice is simply learning what it's like to respond to something quietly, peacefully, still. Because for most of us, the way you responded to the last 20 minutes is quite different from how you respond to everything else that's happening throughout your day. And so all we're working on is closing the gap to where the way we feel now is closer to how you feel always. Just as driven, motivated, productive, successful, whatever that means to you in your respective lives, but with a mind that's steady, clear, focused, distracted by nothing, disturbed by no one. This practice is not easy. It is not necessarily fun. It's not an escape, as often people think it is, especially if you're newer to this practice. It is direct perception into the present moment. And that present moment is very often incredibly difficult, challenging, hectic. And so this practice is learning to be with life as it arises. Many who are new to this practice tend to think that if they just run to this, that that's going to fix everything. But it doesn't. It makes you become aware, as I alluded to earlier, of what you think, what you say, and what you do. And that creates your world. Your thoughts, your words, your actions. The Buddha called this karma. So becoming mindful and aware of what we think, say, and do, that changes your life. And this practice is learning to become aware of that. Meditation is free. Buddhist practice is free. Sitting, breathing, learning to be kind to yourself and everybody else you encounter every moment of your life. And that's why it's so simple. You just have to roam around and be nice to everybody. That's all. You can do that, right? I mean, look at you. This is a kind group, I can just tell sitting with you. But it's a challenge every day. We're faced with conflict and difficulty. And so every day we have opportunities to practice. Every day we suffer, whether it's extreme loss or simple things, temperature, the way your sandwich was made, the way your latte came out, little things. Definitely not life-threatening. But those things also create tremendous amount of discomfort, angst in our lives. And very often it's the little things that pile up. And then that makes it incredibly challenging for the larger, more serious things in our lives that are also very difficult to sit with and embrace. When we deal with loss, death, change, loved ones, pain that we experience with and around other people, seeing those we know and love go through pain. This is really difficult. It's what actually leads a lot of people to places like this, is not just yourself, but watching the others that you know and love also deal with pain. And this is the Buddhist teachings on non-attachment, of understanding that we can love them, we can care about them, but we can't live other people's lives. And they make their own choices, their own decisions, and they follow their own paths. And if you think about it, whether it's something that is present in your life right now, or, I'm sure most of us in this room at some point in time, maybe, anyone here like to control people or things? Right? At some point in time, we had some expectation, of how we wanted others to be. And that doesn't always work out so well. So we love them, we care about them, but we understand that each person's on their own individual journey. And non-attachment means to be there with them, but not trying to control them. So with that, I'll pause. For me, I really just prefer to respond to questions, meditation, Buddhist practice, anything that you're sitting with. And I'll use the rest of our brief time this evening to respond to questions. And for those who are joining virtually, again, thanks for being here. If you have any questions, there's a chat box somewhere on your screen. Feel free to chime in there, and I'll do my best to respond. So open up to questions. Yes, sir.
Hi, Jeff.
Hi, Michael.
Michael here again.
Yes, sir.
I've been getting into the book you lent me, and I'm kind of understanding that the Buddha was more of a great teacher. And a housemate of mine kind of wanted me to pass along the question, basically.
Yeah.
Do Buddhists or did the Buddha believe in heaven or hell or a deity?
Starting with a light one tonight. Let me just break down the Buddhist belief on heaven and hell and deities. It's actually, I joke about it, but it's actually a really simple, straightforward answer, which I almost never give. So I'll do my best to not give a straightforward answer. But to repeat your question for those who didn't maybe hear it in the back or joining virtually, you've been getting into a book I lent you, which was one by Thich Nhat Hanh, and you have a housemate who asked you if the Buddha believed in heaven or hell and deities. Yeah? Okay. So for context, for you, your housemate, or anybody else here who's brand new to Buddhism, the Buddha lived 2,500 years ago, 500 years before Christ. Okay, he was born in India. He was raised Hindu, and he was just a dude. He wasn't a god, right? He wasn't a deity. He was just some dude, no different than you are, you know. And at the time in India, let me start with kind of this part of it. They believed in gods and goddesses, they being most people in India at that time. So all the Hindu gods and goddesses, there were thousands of them, maybe not thousands, but a lot. And so that's what he was raised with. And when he began to teach, when they, had what was called the awakening, and at 35, they say he began to understand why we suffer, right? The Four Noble Truths: life is filled with suffering, the cause, greed, anger, ignorance. It's the second noble truth. The third noble truth is the ending of suffering, liberation, nirvana, freedom from suffering. And the fourth is the Eightfold Path: correct views, thought, speech, action, livelihood, effort, mindfulness, concentration, all on Google for free. That's why I always run through it quickly. That's what he taught for 45 years. And he was actually asked quite often, should we believe in gods and goddesses? And he said, that's up to you. He very clearly said, I'm just a human. I can't tell you to believe in gods and goddesses or not. If you do, you do. If you don't, you don't. That's up to you. He, in essence, was saying, I'm here to teach you how to live a kind, gentle, moral, compassionate life. And here's the beauty of this teaching. If you believe, and I'll get to the heaven and hell part in a minute, if you believe in God or not, if you believe in Jesus or not, whoever or whatever you believe in, what is such a huge part of what actually matters when you die to determine whether you go to heaven or hell? What matters? Whether you're a good person or not, right? And let's remove good person for a moment, because my guess is, in the all of 2 months that I've known you, you've probably spent most of your life thinking you're not a good person, right? You know why I know that? Because I spent most of my life thinking I'm not a good person. Not a fun way to live. It sucks. So let's remove this idea of someone being a good person or a bad person. And let's focus on the fact that we're just a person. We're a person who's done good things and a person who's done bad things. You done a few bad things in your life? You done at least one or two good things? You know what that means? You're human and no different than anyone in this room. In fact, I don't know you well enough to, most people I feel pretty comfortable saying this, but if we lined up, you ever murdered anyone? Okay. I'll leave it at that for right now. But if we lined up good and bad deeds and things we've done, I'm pretty sure I've probably done more bad things than you. We can tally it up a little bit later, all right? We can make a list. And I've probably done a lot worse, The point is, for me as a practitioner, I had to begin to recognize it's not about being a good person or bad person. It's recognizing that we're human. We've done some skillful, healthy, pleasant things. We've done some unskillful, unhealthy, unpleasant things. That is life. So for me, the practice isn't about, the Dalai Lama, I love his response. Someone asked him if this country needed more Buddhists. And he said, the world has enough Buddhists. We don't need more. This country just needs more people who are peaceful and happy. So for those of you who are brand new to Buddhism, this practice isn't about becoming Buddhist, right? Show hands in here. How many Buddhists we got in the room? Look around. 1.5. There's always a half hand out there. So it's not about being Buddhist. You're Christian, you're Catholic, you're Muslim, you're Jewish, you're pagan, whatever it might be. That's fine. keep that, abandon that, that's totally up to you. But can we be human who does kind things? That's the practice. So, make sense so far?
Yes.
The heaven or hell. Again, you're looking at Hindu teachings, you're looking at, in Buddhism very specifically, there are, you can just Google hell realms and heavenly realms. In Buddhism, yes, there are hell realms. So it's 6 realms. There's hungry ghost, there's the animal realms, there's the human realms, there's the heavenly realms, there's the God realms. There are heaven and hell realms. The greatest teaching I got on the hell realms and heavenly realms is we can be in all of them in a matter of an hour. You ever had a moment in your life where you feel incredibly happy and pleasant, and not just because you like stole a bunch of stuff and got what you wanted, but like in a good way? That wasn't about you personally. It was just, but right. So we feel really beautiful. And then 20 minutes later, we do something else. We feel like we're in hell. So I tend to look at heaven and hell realms, not as physical places, but as a state of consciousness, a state of mental, emotional, aspect. So it's also important, last thing I'll say about that is that it's not like the Buddha, very often it's seen as like there's this religion and there's this Buddha, so he taught like about something. He's not proclaiming, like inventing stuff. He's just sharing what he was taught. That makes sense? Yeah. So hope that's helpful. Other questions?
I was just wondering if you could say a few words about right speech.
Say a few words about, you say right speech?
Yeah.
Sure. So the Eightfold Path, as I mentioned earlier, which is the fourth noble truth, the Eightfold Path is having correct or right views, thoughts, speech, action, livelihood, effort, mindfulness, concentration. And the thing about these, just in brief, is that the Eightfold Path, I talk about the 6 paramitas a lot: generosity, morality, patience, diligence, concentration, wisdom, as the bodhisattva path in practice. Those are in all, can be in any order. The Eightfold Path really is in order. So starting with the thoughts, right, or correct views, then thoughts, then speech. Now, right speech. A few things that, for me, that have always stuck out about the teachings and really most common. Is it honest? Is it necessary, what we say? Is it timely? Anyone here gossip? Once in a while, right? It's to refrain from gossip, refrain from slander, moral, ethical words. Sorry, folks. We're all bad Buddhists now. Try. So it's not even 8 o'clock. Maybe you go to bed at 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, midnight, whatever time you go to bed. I want you to try. This is always, a little easier when I do it at nighttime, this challenge. But I want you to try the rest of tonight to not talk about anybody else. Think you can do that? Including me, who threw this challenge out to you. Right? Try to not speak about somebody else. It's so difficult. Even if it's, a TV show you're watching or the radio you're listening to or somebody crossing the street or the car that tried to not speak about anybody else. It's really difficult. And what this practice will show you, even in the next couple hours throughout the rest of this evening, is at the very least, how often we actually just sit around talking about other people, good, bad, or otherwise. That we are constantly speaking about others. And so the gossip, again, slander, timely, necessary, honest, divisive, to refrain from divisive speech as well, which is super important. This comes up a lot with like family stuff where, trying to pick sides and pin each other against each other and create conflict, come out looking like the hero. Again, not that any of you would do this, but yeah. So does that help?
Thanks.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
So how does that compare to thoughts then? Because there's no one to be able to just not think about anyone the rest of the night.
Right. So the question is, how does that compare to thoughts then? Because there's no way that you're not going to be able to compare or to not think about somebody the rest of the night. Great question. So, not that the first one wasn't a great question, but a good follow-up to that. So when you look at right thoughts, there's a couple things here. First is to explore. Well, let me change that. What happens before we speak? You think, okay? You ever thought anything really unpleasant? And what usually follows that?
Nothing.
Oh, that's good. Great. Right? Usually people think unpleasant things and then they say unpleasant things and then they do unpleasant things. So if we look at thoughts, words, actions, the suggestion I always throw out there is if we are constantly doing harmful things to self or others, try to stop doing them. Then if we are constantly speaking harmful things to self or others, try to stop saying them. And then ultimately, with the training of the mind for every day, the rest of your life, which I know you'll do diligently, we will begin to recognize that the unpleasant thoughts or the thoughts of others or whatever it might be are going to arise. But when it arises, you have a thought. You got two basic choices with that thought. What are they?
Follow through on it or not.
Follow through on it or not. And what is the meditation practice training you to do with focusing on breath?
But you said earlier, letting go, but also determining whether you would move forward with it or not.
Right. Yes, but what I'm getting at is the training of the mind is, so the examples I always give, you've heard this probably 1,000 times, but for those who haven't, you're sitting in meditation, thought arises, recognize a thought, hunger, release that thought, back to the breath. Next thought, there's hunger again, release that thought, back to the breath. Next thought, hunger. This is what I want to do. I want to recognize a thought, release it, come back to the breath, not run with it. This is what I don't want to do. Thought arises, hunger. I'm hungry. What do I want to eat? I want a burrito. I'm going to go to Pokies. I want chips. I want cheese. I want sauce. So from one single thought of hunger, I'm sitting there for 5 minutes thinking about a burrito. And I'm hungrier than I was 5 minutes ago. So anyone been holding on to anger for the last 30 years of your life? All right. Those are your thoughts that you constantly keep going back to over and over and over again. So learning to keep the mind present allows us to stop running with those thoughts. Those thoughts torture us. They cause tremendous pain and suffering. They really do. And they're just thoughts. Amazing how we could be sitting there like literally doing absolutely nothing. Working, watching TV, running, whatever it is. And yet all of a sudden you feel like absolute crap. What's doing that? Nobody else. Nobody else is causing you to feel that way. You feel that way because of your thoughts. What do we quickly like to do? Blame others for the way we feel. But it's our thoughts. For me as a practice, work on stop doing them, work on stop saying them, and when the thoughts arise, which they will constantly, work on releasing them and coming back to the present moment, right? For me, I gave up a long time ago, and I mean that very seriously, on trying to purify thought. I mean, I'm long ways away from that. But can I recognize the thoughts? Are the thoughts filled with greed, anger, ignorance? Or are they filled with generosity, compassion, and wisdom? And when I recognize what the intention is behind that thought, can I release it and not act on it? That's the hardest part. That make sense? Yeah.
I mean, what something you said earlier too about, just training the mind. I never really thought about what the point of meditation was or the purpose, but
That's the purpose.
Kind of all
To me, that
it was very helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, to me, that is the purpose. And it's such a misconception for so many people who are maybe new to meditation, thinking that the meditation is supposed to do something for you. You're just sitting and breathing. If you're waiting for something to happen, you're going to be waiting a long time. And we all got stuff to do and the temple will close. It's this idea that meditation is supposed to do something to us or for us that is what actually ruins the practice of meditation. The Buddha taught very clearly, if you're breathing in and taking a short breath, observe that you're breathing in and taking a short breath. If you're breathing out and taking a long breath, observe that you're breathing out and taking a long breath. It's simple awareness and observation of breath. That's it. People used to ask me all the time, have you ever had this happen? That? Nothing. I've been doing this practice for 20 years, every single day for 19. Nothing has ever happened to me. And nothing will ever happen to me. I'm just going to sit there and become more and more and more aware of what an ignorant, greedy fool I am. And learn to be okay with that. Because that's the truth. That's the truth. Can you be honest with yourself? And can you work on changing? That's the beauty of this practice, the awareness. And not acting on thoughts. Super difficult. And super life-changing. Not just for you, but for those around you. I mean, think about every time you get into an argument. Wouldn't it be nice if you didn't scream and yell back at that person? You know how happy they would be? But, yeah.
Don't you think that's a pretty important thing that's happening?
What's that?
Because you're meditating. You're changing your life. You're changing your experience of others and the way that you interact with others and your entire life. I feel like that's
for
something
sure.
that's happening.
But I think of it what my point is, absolutely. But what I'm saying is it's a side effect.
Mm.
It's not the meditation that is doing anything.
Mm-hmm.
That's my point.
Mm-hmm.
The meditation is just sitting and breathing.
Mm-hmm.
The side effect is you're doing less of the stupid stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But during meditation, I mean, I just sat here for 20 minutes with my eyes staring at the piece of wood, doing nothing. Literally nothing. That accomplished nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the beauty of the practice.
Mm-hmm.
We spend our whole lives trying to accomplish something, trying to gain something, trying to win. Meditation is just, can we just be? Super difficult. Yeah.
I've been told when I meditate, clear my mind. Is that possible?
How's it working for you so far?
It's not.
Then it's not possible. It doesn't matter what I tell you. Here's the danger. Well, here's the reality. The reality is 100 people lead you in meditation, they're going to lead you 100 different ways. None of them right, none of them wrong, none of them necessarily good, none of them necessarily bad, unless they're telling you to go harm people. They have no idea. Just like I have no idea. I don't know what you can or can't do with your mind. That's why when you said to me, you were told that meditation to clear your mind, what was the first thing I said to you? Can you do it? And you said what? No. So clearly you cannot.
She cannot.
She cannot. Yeah. I can't. I can't clear my mind. My mind is a mess.
How would you know if you cleared your mind? Would you have to think about it and then do it in real life?
Well, the simple awareness of the fact that your mind is clear or unclear designates the fact that your mind is not clear. Right? This idea of clearing the mind as if we're supposed to become this blank slate is really detrimental to, especially for those who are, how long have you been at this meditation thing? Couple 2 years. Okay, so like think of a 2-year-old baby. What a 2-year-old baby is wearing. Someone said it. Louder. Diapers. Think of yourself as a meditator in diapers. And I mean this very seriously, right? You've spent 2 years trying to clear your mind, and then you think you're doing what? Failing. So now you're grading and judging and critiquing your meditation practice, which is, from a Zen practice, the entire opposite of what this practice is about. Be with your mess. Right? The Buddhist teachings is not about clearing the mind. It's about observing the mind. As long as you're alive, your mind is not going to shut off. It won't stop racing. My Zen master taught me a beautiful practice. And it's to train the mind, not to clear it, but train it. Breath in, breath out, count 1. Breath in, breath out, count 2. Breath in, breath out, count 3. Go to 10, 10 to 1. As soon as you lose thought on the counting, you would start over, back to 1. So the practice is 1 to 10, 10 to 1. Next thing you would do is you would then see the number, breath in, breath out, 1, you would see it being drawn. Breath in, breath out, 2. Breath in, breath out, 3, right? 1 to 10, 10 to 1. Next thing you do is you see it being drawn in a color. For me, it was always red. 1. Breath in, breath out, 2. Breath in, breath out, 3. And I'm not literally doing that during meditation. I'm just showing you that's what I would visualize, is a hand drawing. And then same thing, but to watch the number expand and come back. Awareness is this practice. Not becoming a blank slate. Does that make sense? There's a, let's see if I can find it here. Something that, it's a beautiful teaching that I just saw. I don't know if you're all familiar with Chogyam Trungpa Rinpoche. Beautiful Tibetan Buddhist teacher. Did a lot of not so wise things. So when he was young, and I'll kind of close with this thought. When he was young, Dalai Lama kind of recognized him as, the future of Buddhism and this great enlightened Lama and all this kind of stuff. And then he eventually left all that, moved to Colorado in the 60s, became no longer a Tibetan Lama. And he built, if you're familiar with Shambhala or Naropa, any of that kind of stuff, he built all of that. Pema Chodron was a disciple of his. There's an incredible documentary called Crazy Wisdom about him. The guy was incredibly nuts, incredibly unhealthy, did a lot of unhealthy things within the community, and drank too much, smoked too much, died too young, and slept with too many of his students. Other than that, everything he taught was brilliant. And I mean that very seriously. That's my summary of Chogyam Trungpa Rinpoche. And so here's something he said. Meditation is not, I just came across this the other day. Meditation is not a matter of trying to achieve ecstasy, spiritual bliss, or tranquility, nor is it attempting to become a better person. It is simply the creation of a space in which we are able to expose and undo our neurotic games, our self-deceptions, our hidden fears, and our hopes. Meditation is not a matter of trying to achieve ecstasy, spiritual bliss, or tranquility, nor is it attempting to become a better person. It is simply the creation of a space in which we are able to expose and undo our neurotic games, our self-deceptions, our hidden fears, and hopes. I think that's it. So once we set down the game of winning, of being the best, of trying to conquer meditation or Buddhism, when we set that down and you actually use Buddhist teachings as a mirror to begin to reflect back on yourself, your own craziness, your own madness, your own neurotic mind, watch that, become aware of that. And yes, that's where meditation creates a space for that to occur. But be with that, dance with that, play with that. That's the practice. So, yeah.
I liked what you said, my thoughts, my words, my actions create my life, or like, shape my life. It
Yes.
just reminds me to be a lot more intentional.
For sure. Yeah, I mean, that's really the heart of Buddhist teachings. That's our karma. Often we think karma is what goes around comes around. Often we think karma is like what we get, but it's not. The word karma is action. Karma is not what we get, it's what we give. It's what we bring into the world. And the Buddha taught very clearly that we generate karma 3 ways: body, speech, mind. What we think, what we say, and what we do. That's our karma. That's what we're sharing. So that's the foundation of that teaching. What we think, what we say, and what we do creates our world. That's all the Buddha wanted you to do. So those are just 3 things. You can do 3 things, right? So easy. Yay for 3 things. All right, we're going to join palms and close on that. The benefit of this practice be shared with all beings in all directions. May all beings be at peace. May all be free from suffering. May any merit gained from this practice be transferred to those who need it most. So a few quick announcements before y'all head out. And Janelle, somebody wrote, Crazy Wisdom. Phenomenal documentary. If you're not familiar with Chogyam Trungpa Rinpoche and you want to see all of his madness and brilliance, thus the name Crazy Wisdom. Thanks for being here. My name is Jeff. I'm a Dharma bum. We opened up this temple 17 years ago to introduce Buddhist practice to those who show up. Those of us who lead, we're not monks, we're not nuns, we're not gurus, we're not masters, we're not teachers. We're not looking for students. We're just unenlightened folks doing our best to take our understanding of Buddhist teachings and put it into terms that hopefully make sense for those who show up. So every night we have different people who lead different practices coming from different Buddhist traditions and approaches. We have a huge recovery sangha. So anyone battling addiction, drugs, alcohol, whatever it might be, that meets a few times a week. We also started our new Friday night group the last 4, 5, 6 weeks. So Fridays at 7 o'clock is a new recovery Dharma program, which just beautiful to see this hall filled again on a Friday night, which is super special. Also returning for 12 years, we feed the homeless every Thursday, 5 o'clock. Pandemic, we closed for 16 months, opened for 6, closed again for 2. But that program has been on hold for 2.5, nearly 3 years, actually. And so that'll return this Thursday. We did one on Thanksgiving. We had probably 70, 80 people here and made food and went downtown to feed people. That'll start this week. So every Thursday, 5 o'clock, we meet here. We prepare sandwiches for about 45 minutes, and then we drive downtown, carpool style, and just pass out food to people on the streets. I always tell people that they're going to make it through the night, whether they get your sandwich or not. the ones who benefit the most from this is us. So whenever you think your life really sucks and you're stuck in your own misery, feed some people. And it's just such a beautiful practice. So that's every Thursday at 5. Yeah, other than that, I think that's all. Thanks for being here. I wish you well and be safe.
Hey, thanks, Jeff. I gotta get out of here.
Get out of here,
See you
Michael.
next week.
Love you, brother. Good to see you.
How you
Glad you're
doing?
getting into it.
You got some last night?